Happy pitchers and catchers report to spring training eve, you guys.
What's up, H-Town? Welcome to the Believe in Astros podcast, your home for all things Astros. With your hosts, sports writer Jeff Balke and Astros broadcaster and former third baseman Jeff Blom. Now, here's Balke and Blummer.
What is up, Astros fans? Welcome to episode 103 of the Believe in Astros podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. I'm Jeff Balke. Pitchers and catchers report tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow. Are you ready? Woo, I'm definitely getting ready. First, a programming note. So for over a year and a half, or nearly a year and a half, I've co-hosted the show with Jeff Blum. But this year, that's going to change. I love Blummer to death. He was someone I'd never met until this show. He's become a friend. He's a genuinely excellent human being. If you've never met him, just a wonderful person. But he's also one of the busiest people that I've ever met. And doing a weekly, sometimes more than weekly podcast ain't easy. So he let me know earlier, just about a month ago, that he wasn't going to have the bandwidth to keep doing this show into this season. I completely respect his decision. I'm sorry to see him go. Blummer and I get along great. We share a lot of things in common in terms of our likes and dislikes. He's obviously a wonderfully funny guy, super insightful. As a former player and as an analyst, he's also an excellent color commentator. So it stinks. I don't like having to make this announcement. But it is what it is. I completely understand and respect what he does in his job. Let's be frank. I mean, this is one of the busier guys you'll ever meet. And I'm not just talking about out on the golf course. Blummer is a wonderful, wonderful guy. I really value the time that we were able to work together. And he is going to come visit from time to time. He and I've already talked about that. I mean, where else are we going to publicly share our quotes from Wedding Crashers? Because let's be honest, when it comes to Blummer, every once in a while you need one of these.
Hey, Ma! Get the meatloaf!
Or perhaps something like this.
There's no sun in the gym, bro.
So, yeah, Blummer's going to be back on occasion to do this, but he will not be a full-time co-host any longer. I really want to thank him for his contributions to the podcast. When I first found out that Blum was going to be my partner on here, I was elated. You couldn't ask for a much better choice. The people of Believe Network are really, really great people who've done a tremendous amount to help me in this, my real kind of first endeavor at podcasting. And when they, the whole network is about pairing writers and broadcasters and people like that with former athletes, coaches, that sort of thing. And when they came to me and said, hey, we're going to find somebody for you, and they said it was going to be Jeff Blum, I mean, I couldn't have felt much happier about that. So it stings that he's going to not be here. I'm not super thrilled about it, but I totally get it. And look, the show's going to go on. Let me just be clear. I love doing this podcast. I love talking about the Astros. I love interacting with you guys. When it comes to talking about the Astros, my speech teacher in college nicknamed me Glib because I was able to talk about anything at any time fairly easily. That's not necessarily a good thing. It can be a very annoying thing, I'm certain. But the truth of the matter is I love doing this. I love talking about the Astros with you guys. I love it that you comment and share. So I am efforting to work in a new co-host. We're going to be working on that. I hope to have someone in place by the time the season starts, if not sooner. And in the meantime, I'm going to have some friends, some colleagues, some other people around the sports world on the show, particularly during spring training, to get some of that deeper insight, stuff that I might not be able to provide. I really appreciate all of you for sticking around and staying with me. Listen, this is a podcast I feel very strongly about. It's something I really, really enjoy doing, as I've mentioned. And I think it offers something. And I hope to get more people on to offer you guys even more interesting stuff, because you guys deserve it. We're Astros fans. Like, come on. We're Astros fans. We got to stick together. I feel like those TikToks, like, we're Astros fans. Of course, blah, blah, blah. No. Anyway, I will have to get a new intro, by the way, which, that's a pretty powerful intro. You guys got to admit, that intro is pretty strong, but I'll be working on that as well. Anyway, once we get a new host, I will be sure to announce it to everyone. For now, just keep following, keep watching. We're going to have some good people on here, and I intend to this year ramp up the guest work as well. I really do want to have more guests on, regardless of who will come on and join me as a co-host. So with all that out of the way, again, Blum, love you. I'm sorry you're not going to be here anymore this year, but I'm really glad that he's still going to be stopping by, and we'll still get chances to chat. For now, let's talk about some more important things in the world of sports. First of all, I am wearing a Taylor Swift hoodie today. This is not really in honor of the Chiefs winning, although I did pick the Chiefs. And as I said last time, I don't care if people don't like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's relationship or any of that. I think it's kind of adorable. I'm wearing this because it's cold, and this is literally one of the warmest hoodies I have. This was a gift from my goddaughter and her mother on my birthday last year. Shout out Sarah and Mary. Mary, the goddaughter, Sarah, her mom. And I love it. It's super warm. It's super comfortable. I will admit that there are times when I'm at the store, when I'm wearing this like hoodie that's covered in Taylor Swift photos, I do get some strange looks. But you know what? Keep that stuff to yourself. I'm not really a Swiftie. I'm just not. But I love the hoodie, and I don't dislike Taylor or Travis or #trailer. That didn't sound right. All right, moving on. Let's get on to some actual sports talk and not just ephemeral things. This morning, I have a story on the Houston Press that is 5 storylines that I'm watching in spring training. I thought it might be a good chance to discuss some of these, because I really do think there's some very interesting storylines this time around. Ironically, the Houston Chronicle wrote a story this morning called 5 Storylines in Astros Spring Training. It's kind of weird. I mean, we don't know each other, so I'm sure it's just the time of year. And theirs were different from mine. You should go read that as well. All interesting stuff. Okay, so the first one up out of these 5 is Forrest Whitley's bullpen opportunity. So I think this might be one of the more intriguing storylines of the Astros this year. Look, Forrest Whitley, who is 26 years old, but seems like he might be 40, given how long we've been waiting for him. Former number 1 prospect, eventually dropped off the prospects list. He's been suspended. He has struggled with injury. But this offseason, the Astros kind of committed that, hey, this time we're going to put him in the bullpen. Dana Brown has spoken very highly about Whitley. Whitley himself has said that, he really is excited about adapting to this role. One thing I will say, look, Dana Brown has a track record of seeing things in guys, right? And I think this might be one of them. Look, Whitley, he's got good stuff. His biggest problem has really been his ability to pitch for extended innings. Maybe this is a chance to give him new life. And I think it's a fascinating thing to watch because, listen, do the Astros need Forrest Whitley in their bullpen? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, their Astros are going to be pretty stacked, I think, once the trim down of the starting rotation happens, which is going to, because they got 7 guys that could start, and never mind Spencer Aggetti, who I'll get to. They probably don't need him there, but if Forrest Whitley comes out and becomes a good relief pitcher, a solid middle relief guy, I mean, that's a huge win for the Astros. My friend Katya told me, she goes, you never count on Forrest Whitley to be anything. And I agree with that 100%. But listen, it's an intriguing thing to check out and to watch, because if he is good and he is able to make the most of those opportunities that he gets in the bullpen. Look, there was a reason he was a number one prospect at one point, and he still has very good stuff. So that's my first one that I think is going to be real interesting to watch. The second for me is sorting out what's going to happen in the outfield. Kyle Tucker is going to play right field, but after that, we don't really know, right? We know that Yordan Alvarez is going to get some time in left, but I think that Joe Espada and Dana Brown have both been pretty clear that they want to give guys some rest this year. They don't want to run guys out there every single game, either moving them into the DH spot for a game or just giving them the day off. They did schedule days off last year, but I think we'll see more pronounced numbers of those this year, just simply because they have a couple of guys who are older or injury prone. And I think they're going to be careful with that, and rightfully so. So that leaves you with a rotation of a number of different guys. Now, as we understand it, it is likely that Chas McCormick is going to pick up the bulk of the time in both left and center field, right? So he'll play left field when Yordan is DHing. He'll probably play center a lot of the time when Yordan is in left. He might occasionally DH as well. Chas McCormick's one of the few guys that had over an 800 OPS last year for the Astros. They're going to give him a chance to swing the bat, and he's a good defensive player. I think he'll be a very good defensive left fielder, right? And that means that they're going to play Jake Myers a lot in center. Look, Myers is a plus defender in center field. I don't think there's any question of that. Now that his arm is sort of finally working again, there's no question he could be one of the better defensive center fielders in the American League. But he has never hit, right? He's never hit for power, for average. He did at AAA one season a couple years ago, and Dana Brown pointed this out in a recent interview. But I just don't know if we can trust that. They're going to give him a shot. They're going to give him every shot to win that spot in center field, because they really do believe in his defense. But I don't know. It's going to be tough. He will likely bat ninth, right, in the lineup. And until he pulls, until we can see that he can pull his weight at the plate, I'm not convinced. A couple other guys to watch out there. Mauricio Dubon will obviously get some time in center field. They've said that. They're going to move him all over the place, and I think reasonably so. Gold Glove utility guy, so why not? They also signed Trey Cabbage. I think he's going to provide some depth out there. Cabbage is an interesting one because he's a left-handed bat, something the Astros don't really have. Michael Brantley was an option there before when he wasn't injured. But then there are a couple other guys to keep an eye on. One is Pedro Leon. Now, we talked a lot about Pedro Leon before last spring training, and we thought he was going to be the big guy coming out. It really turned out to be Yainer Diaz was the guy that really kind of became the name we talked about. But in terms of Pedro Leon, he's been mashing over the winter. He had some injury problems, too many strikeouts in AAA. He has an opportunity to come in and perhaps, make a mark. I hope he does. It would be fantastic if he did. And then you also have a guy, Kennedy Corona. So Corona's real interesting. Played last spring, actually played pretty well. He's a sneaky guy to watch. Very good defensively. Brian McTaggart mentioned him as a guy to kind of keep an eye on under the radar, as someone who could work into that outfield mix. So they have some guys that are going to, I'm very interested to see if Trey Cabbage plays well. He's a guy that came up to the majors, didn't play particularly well, but he's been so good in the minors, and has a lot of pop from the left side. So we shall see. Next on this list of storylines, can anyone back up at the corner infield spots? This doesn't seem like it should be a big deal, right? I mean, Alex Bregman is in his free agent year. He's going to want to come out and play well. You've got Jose Abreu at first, but they're going to want to give Jose Abreu some time off. There's no question about it. They're going to look to rest guys. But the Astros don't really have anyone backing up either corner out infield position. I mean, last year it was Yainer Diaz playing some first. Mauricio Dubon got a couple of opportunities over there. And then they brought John Singleton in towards the end of the season. He's still on the roster. They're not going to put Yainer over there, given that he's the starting catcher, and John Singleton, good story last year. I just don't see it. But you also have to deal with the fact that what if Bregman's out? How do you account for, third base? Who do you put over there? So there are a couple of guys. I've talked about him here a little bit when we talked about prospects. One of them is Joey Loperfido. This is a guy he plays a credible first base, second base, plays outfield, but he's definitely can play corner and field. And he is Loperfido's a left-handed bat. He had a 900 OPS with 19 homers in 84 games at Corpus Christi last year. Played a brief stint at Sugar Land, I think 20 or 30 games. This is a guy that could sneak in as someone who maybe he's not up the whole season, maybe become an injury call-up, but that's a guy to keep an eye out for. The other is Zach DeZenzo, and I've mentioned him before. DeZenzo's, he's really spent most of his time at AA last year. He's going to need a little more time at AAA, but he is really the only guy who is a credible third baseman the Astros have in their system, right? Will Wagner's played a little third, but he doesn't have the arm strength for it. DeZenzo's a legitimate possibility at third base. That's the only reason I could see him getting some time up here is just if they can't negotiate an extension for Bregman, they're going to have to start thinking about it, and they're going to have to start giving guys some time. So maybe a September call-up or maybe an injury call-up. But these are a couple of guys to kind of keep an eye on. They're both going to be in spring training. It should be interesting to watch them. My number 4 on this list, clearing up the starting pitching logjam. Listen, the Astros have 7 pitchers right now who are healthy, who are starters. Justin Verlander, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, Jose Urquidy, Hunter Brown, JP France. Sorry, that's 6. They have 6 guys. So that doesn't even, and I'll mention the 7th here in a minute. That doesn't even include Luis Garcia and Lance McCullers. Wait, where am I at? 6, 7, 8. Who, and now just a report today saying that they should be up about halfway through the season. So now they may do a 6-man rotation at times. I think they may want to rest Justin Verlander, part of that whole plan to sort of keep guys fresh. But I don't think so. I think it's going to be 5 starters, and that means somebody is going to have to go down to the bullpen. I guess you could move France back down to AAA, although he's proven his mettle here. Maybe Urquidy goes into the bullpen. He's pitched out of the bullpen before. So I think those are possibilities. But, and this is my number 5 storyline, will a rookie emerge and make the big league roster? And the guy that I think everybody should be watching is Spencer Arrighetti. Arrighetti is a very talented young pitcher. He pitched well in the minors, particularly at AA, but also at AAA. He did well. He is a guy that looks like it's time for him to come up. Now, he's still a rookie. He's not going to pitch, 150 or 160 innings probably. So he's going to be a guy that can come in and out, but he's a starter. I'm not sure the Astros are going to throw him in the bullpen because I'm not sure the Astros think it's a good idea to put him in the bullpen, right? Because if you put a guy like that in the bullpen who's never really pitched in the bullpen before, I could see that being a concern for them. But that's a guy to watch. So a few prospects to watch in DeZenzo, Loperfido, Kennedy Corona, Spencer Arrighetti, Pedro Leon. There's some good prospects to watch. But also, we've got some guys that are, there's a bunch of guys bouncing around this bullpen, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about that next week. But, you've got some guys that are going to, Dylan Coleman's brand new. You've got a number of guys that are going to come in this bullpen, and they're going to try and straighten out what they're going to do in innings, 5 and 6, maybe 4. Hopefully not. We don't have to go that long. Hopefully we get good pitching, starting pitching, go 4 or 5. You get 5 innings out of a guy, then you really just need a 6 inning. then we've got 7, 8, 9 locked down right now. So we're going to have to start seeing who are those guys going to be. So that bullpen will be a very interesting spot. And like I said, I don't think Arrighetti goes down there. Urquidy might, though. I think those are my 5 storylines. I think I'd love to hear from you what you think some of the storylines are going to be this year, because I think it's going to be pretty fascinating to watch this spring training, even though so much of the lineup is already set, right? In fact, Major League Baseball actually put out this morning, I saw in their newsletter, their lineups, projected lineups for every team. And they have Hunter Brown at the 5th starter with Urquidy at number 4. No JP France in that starting rotation. I'm not sure I agree with that assessment. Speaking of that, let's move on. A couple of notes from some things I've seen this week. MLB listed their favorites and underdogs for the Cy Young this year. No Astros on the list. Not really surprising. I think Christian Javier was an underdog last year. This is a rotation that's going to be difficult to predict. Verlander, who I would never count out, but he's 41. Framber Valdez had such an up and down year last year. Who can say what we're going to get from Framber? I think my father-in-law is a huge baseball guy. Told me last night that he thinks that Framber's a key to this rotation. He might be. I think to me the biggest keys in the rotation are going to be the longevity of Christian Javier and Hunter Brown. Like, can they go this year now? Can they go 160 plus innings without wearing down? Right. I think that's going to be critical for the Astros to be able to get through all this season, and because when their pitching is on, they're very, very good. Right. They're very, very good. And speaking of Hunter Brown, The Athletic did a story this morning that their list of 10 MLB players ready to explode, which they did. These are guys in the field. They didn't mention any Astros, which I got a feeling maybe Yiner should have been on that list. But they did say that Hunter Brown was on their list of pitchers that are ready to break out this season. And I think I agree with them on that. Look, Hunter Brown has all of the tools, and last year was the first year that he really had to go a boatload of innings. And look, he struggled at times, but this is a guy who has all the tools. He has all the talent to be able to do it. He's just got to get to the point where he has the longevity to make this happen. And, all reports are that both he and Javier have spent most of the offseason working on strength training that will keep them healthy and keep them in a, good performance shape throughout the season. And I think that's critical. It is super critical for them. I think those two guys, look, they have some other options with JP France and Urquidy and on and on, but they really do need those two guys to be able to pitch plenty of innings. And so, when you look at the young pitchers, they have on their list 5 young pitchers. This is really interesting how they describe it. It says the story on Brown is that he has great stuff but can't locate the ball. So for his first full season, he went out there, his stuff receded while he threw to above average locations, right? So, and he even said that his mechanics began to change due to fatigue, right? So the thing is, now all he needs to do, and I say all, it's like as if it's easy, like bing, 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 bang, boom, everything's good. What he needs to do now is marry that location effort, the effort that he spent focused on location, with the tremendous stuff that he has as a pitcher. And like I said, it's not easy to do, but if he is able to do that, and really it's not his 3rd season, it's really his 2.5, let's say. But if he's able to do that this year, maintain that control that he was able to do last year, but incorporate, higher velocities and better spin rate and things like that, he's going to be a very difficult pitcher to hit. And so I'm looking forward to watching him this year. And I think kind of the sky's the limit. I know I've seen in prospect lists where people rank him as like saying, oh, he'll be a good 3rd or 4th starter. Look, I think he could be. I'm not sure he's an ace on your list, on your rotation, but could he be I think for him, the ceiling is a top 2 or 3 pitcher in this league. I think it's legitimate to believe that. So we'll see this year. We'll totally see how it goes. Okay, finally, on YouTube, we're getting great comments on YouTube lately, you guys. I really appreciate that. I think Gabe, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, Leija, Leija. He asked a really good question. And his question was, any chance Space City Network is going to be available on more platforms this season? So the Astros and Rockets moved over to Space City Home Network this last year. And I think it is a priority for them to get onto other platforms, streaming platforms in particular. But it takes a while to put apps together. I actually work in that industry, in the web development industry. So it's a slow process. But I think a more interesting thing to talk about is how baseball now is very, very interested in getting into the streaming market. And hey, why not? Right? Why wouldn't they be? I mean, it's just Rob Manfred has been wanting, and Rob Manfred, but anyway, Rob Manfred has been wanting to do this for a while, right? This is a high priority for him. And of course, we just saw these streaming deals with like Amazon and coming in, and we've already seen some stuff with Apple. I think they want to go beyond MLB TV. They're already saying they could roll something out in 2025. There was a story in The Athletic about this. By the way, Athletic has a new media reporter, so I think we're going to get more stuff about what's happening on that front. But The Athletic talked about it and said they want to roll something out for 2025. Something that would provide some streaming options, maybe not for every team, although they did say the Astros would be a really good candidate for this because they own their own sort of regional sports network with the Rockets. And if they were able to do that, they could maybe get rid of the blackouts, which is a huge deal for so many people who want to watch a baseball game but can't because they're blacked out, right? So I think that I was skeptical. I felt like streaming in baseball wasn't going to be something that could be done quickly. But I think the higher ups at baseball are making it a priority, as they should. And I think it could come sooner rather than later. Like, I think we could see some version of the beginnings of streaming, whether it's through an existing service like Amazon or whoever, to Netflix or whoever wants to spend boatloads of money. I think we could see a movement towards that as early as next season. Dude, that's exciting. Like, think about the ability to, watch from your computer without a cable subscription, right? I mean, look, the only thing that has kept me from being a cord cutter is the fact that, well, quite frankly, I can't watch the Astros or the Rockets without a cord. And look, all due respect to Xfinity which is my provider, would I keep cable TV if I could get rid of it? I don't know. Now, right now, of course, we're in the midst of this insane thing where, like, now instead of one cable provider that's like really, really expensive, we have like 20 streaming services that are all like put together are more expensive than a cable deal. So that's all going to have to, shake out at some point. But I do think maybe now the streaming reality for Major League Baseball is that it's coming. Maybe it's coming, you guys. I don't know. I hope it is. Because I think it's going to be great for. I think it'll be great for baseball, and I think it'll be great. Most importantly, it'll be great for fans. And I'm for whatever is great for fans because I'm a fan, and that means it's good for me. And let's be honest, if it's good for me, I'm going to be pretty happy about it. I hate to be selfish like that, but that's the way it is. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll be back next week with a fresh pod brought to you by Bet Online. I'm going to effort to have a co-host on with me next week, even if it's not a permanent person. I've got a few irons in the fire with that regard, or a guest or two. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, of course, on YouTube. You guys have been leaving great comments on YouTube. Really appreciate it, watching and subscribing and giving us comments. You can give us a follow on X at Believe in Astros. You can find me at Jeff Balke. I'm all over social media with that. And you can also read my stuff on the Houston Press, and you can catch me Monday mornings on Houston Matters, locally here, KUHF, 88.7 FM. You can find it online, I think, at houstonpublicmedia.org, I believe. I'll have, obviously be putting up all the videos of this as well. Oh, and I'm on Instagram, Believe in Astros, and at Jeff Balke. So thank you for everyone who listens. I really do appreciate it. Obviously, continue to send your questions. I think they're fascinating, and they really do add to the show, and they add to my enjoyment of it. And again, my enjoyment is really kind of what's important here, because I'm a fan. And like you, fans are what's important. Let's be honest. Without the fans, where would we be? I don't mean fans of this show. I mean fans of the Astros. Fans of this show. Listen, I'm happy to have all of you here, and I hope you'll stick with me. So thank you so much for listening. Pitchers and Catchers report tomorrow. It's Valentine's Day. I love you to my wife, Kathy, whose birthday was yesterday as well. And, let's get this going. I'm ready for spring training, you guys. As always, go Astros.